Ick.
I mean,
That's all.
Craig and Damon here. I mean, you guys are just next level branding here with the names of your businesses in the background here. I'm supposed to be the tech guy out of the three of us, and look at you guys.
This side.
Are we doing that? There we go.
I was
just
getting.
pretend you see my logo.
Yeah. Oh man, I was bored one day. That's about it. I was bored, and Andrew goes, "Hey, let's do it." So
yeah, it's covering up the bong there back on his shelf. So
there you go.
I took the green screen down last night, so I don't know how well it's going to work without it.
Yeah, me, it's an actual screen.
all right. Well, we're getting going here. There will probably be people that filter in, and I'll let them in when we go. But hey, I appreciate everyone coming by. You know, we started this thing just because we wanted to be helping people and working, just distributing information, because there's a lot of really smart people that are on in our network, and it's always great the calls that we have. And we wanted to be able to put together some time when people could come together, listen about relevant topics, and really learn and share. You know, this comes around from, you know, for me, many years ago, when I can remember riding in my grandfather's car where he was listening to Zig Ziglar. And I thought, who the hell is this Zig Ziglar guy? He said, you know, if you give enough to everyone else, you'll have enough, you know, you'll have plenty, or whatever the heck Zig's line is. And, you know, it's funny how that's come back in my life, and how this thing has just really inspired me to help give these ultra talented people that I'm able to, and you guys are able to interact with, time to talk about relevant subjects in business. It's just such a rewarding thing to listen and learn. And I hope that it's helping everyone in here. And you know, so we're going to continue to try to do this as long as we can keep getting good relevant topics and people are interested. We want to continue providing value. The thing that we want to do in these calls is like we experienced last week. If you were on, we want good, lively discussion. We want you to ask questions. You know, this is a time that we really can ask the probing questions of the experts and really understand some fundamental things that may be able to help our clients' businesses or our businesses if we're business owners in this. Because the more we understand about different topics, and the more professionals we know that can help with those topics, or we can, the better off we are as business owners or professionals. So you'll notice in the chat, it's rolling along. I see that's freaking awesome. Put your LinkedIn in there. If you want to be invited into the invitation that goes out for this, that hits weekly, just, if you're not on it already, drop your email in there. You will be. If we get Zoom bombed, what's going to happen is I'm going to update the invite. I'm going to send it right out again, and we'll put it on our company page on LinkedIn again. Don't think we will, because we have to control people who come in, but if we do, we're going to do that.
Damon,
So,
if everybody's in that you want in, just go into the bottom under security, and you can hit the lock screen right now, and it'll lock anybody out.
Okay, I will do that when we're there. There's quite a few people that said they were going to be in here, so I'm going to wait a bit. But I have to admit people. I think that's a pretty safe way for us to do it. You get only by admit. So we're going to give this a go here. We're at about 8:09. What I wanted to be ready to go is we're going to start off with a little segue by Ben Baker. Then we're gonna go into, today we're gonna talk about pivoting businesses, and it's may lead into other ancillary conversations, but really what we want to talk about and understand are what are some things that we see successful businesses doing now to continue to grow as their environment changes so dramatically with the current events, and then we're going to see what's not working. And Curt Anderson's going to talk initially after Ben about some of the things that he does that are just really cool about helping businesses move into e-commerce that may not think they can. It's awesome work that he does. I know we're going to have some good questions around that with other e-commerce professionals I see on the screen and marketing people that are on here now. Looking forward to that. we're going to end up then when we get near the end, we're going to talk about some of the future topics. We really want to get your input on future topics and what we're going to do there. And then Andrew's going to conclude. We'll get out of here in an hour, and hopefully everybody leaves and rolls down through the day with a little better position, whatever. I'm as you know, I wing this. I got a few notes on my page, and that's good to get. I'm really about getting the content out. So with that, I'll let Ben take over and segue into Curt talking.
Thanks, Damon. What I want to talk about is, it's something I've been having a lot of conversations about this week. It's about what's next. We're finally at a stage where, we're not out of this and we're not out of this by a long shot. However, companies are beyond the original panic. They've sent their teams home. They've hopefully built some type of routine. They've got some communication going. So now it's time to think about, okay, what's next? Eventually, we're all going to need to open up our companies. Eventually, we're all going to have to bring customers back into our, into our places of business, etc. The question is, what is that going to look like? And this is not something that one person needs to be thinking about. It's something everybody in the company needs to be thinking about. The more we can get our people and our teams together and sit there and say, okay, guys, what's next? Let's engage them. Let's figure it out and create conference calls like this, Zoom calls like this, whatever, and sit there and say, all right, where are we today and where do we want to go? Because in a lot of businesses, this is going to be a clean slate. The way that we did business up, to the end of 2019 and where we're going to be in 6 months from now is going to be completely different. And we need to engage our staff and say, okay, what are you seeing in the market? When you're talking to people out there, talking to your friends, talking to your family, talking to customers, whatever, what are you hearing? What are you hearing out there? What are the things that people are just making people tear their hair out right now? And maybe there's a way we can pivot so we can ramp up a lot quicker. So we can be there when people need us to be able to take care of it. Take a look at what's the skill sets you have in house? What are the policies? What are the procedures? What's the equipment you have in house? And say, is there a way that we can take what we have and be able to pivot left, right, whatever, in order to be able to be more effective? And it takes engaging the brain trust, because your employees, in a lot of cases, know their customers better than we do as owners of companies. They're the ones that are talking to them each and every single day. And they're getting a different pulse. And the more we can get everybody together and look at the different viewpoints and sit there and say, all right, what are you hearing? What are the opportunities you think we have? The more engaged we're going to keep our staff. And the more we keep them engaged, the more excited they're going to be about moving forward. If we sit there and say, this is what we're going and this is what we're doing, and we haven't consulted anybody, it's really hard to get buy-in on that. If we engage them in the process and tell them where we are, where we're going, and how we're going to get there and how we're going to get there together, these people are going to be far more excited about all rowing in the same boat and going in the same direction. So that's really what I want to talk about, is that we need to engage our people. We need to be sitting there and having the conversation now about what's next.
Yeah, that is a great thing to think about, Ben. And it is right, because this remote work situation is going to change. I believe is going to change the face of business. Mm-hmm. And we do really need to be ready for that. And that's why I think, as you said, talking about pivoting businesses and a clean slate and starting from ground zero, basically, how our business is going to look after that. This is the businesses that are innovative and do it are going to have advantages. We talked about some of these things already. So it's great insight and great segue into today where I'm looking forward to the input. So with that, I'll turn it over to Curt Anderson, and we're going to let Curt talk a little bit about how he helps companies and some of the cool stuff that he does. So Curt, I'm going to let you take it away and go from there.
Hey, thanks, Damon. I appreciate it. And a huge shout out to you and Andrew for putting together these calls every week. This is awesome. I feel like I'm taking an MBA class. And perfect segue with Ben. Yesterday, if you guys don't follow Ben on LinkedIn, I strongly encourage you to do so. He comes out with a video every Tuesday. And yesterday, Ben, if I have it right, you had a great line that said something along the lines of this is an opportunity to think long-term and how do you wow the next customer or the next industry, if I'm trying to quote you on that. And I just thought that was a brilliant advice. So I'm going to segue into a critical, important topic, and it's planes, trains, and automobiles. So if anybody hears from the 80s, if you remember Steve Martin and John Candy, classic movie. I see a couple thumbs ups.
Yeah, those aren't pillows.
Those aren't, thank you. Those aren't pillows. Great line. The other great line from that movie, it reminds me of Jeff Graham's background, is Steve Martin and John Candy flying down a highway and the car next to him, they're screaming, "Hey, you're going the wrong way, man." And I don't know if you guys see Jeff's background with a little car accident there. But the great thing with these calls, it's an opportunity. How do we, we're kind of pulling together. How do we help each other stop going the wrong way or going the right direction? And what I want to talk about, what Damon and I were talking about, is particularly digital immigrants trying to figure out this whole digital, trying to figure out a digital strategy. And maybe, for, those of us that are Gen X or baby boomers for a long time, we could stay under the radar. Or a lot of, I'm going to talk about manufacturers, they'd always say like, hey, I'd like to be the best kept secret, or I like to fly under the radar. Well, you know what? Prior to this, you really couldn't do it anymore. And now with the world that we're in right now, you just can't be the best kept secret anymore. You really need a digital footprint. So with manufacturers, I'm not so much about the manufacturer has the finished good or proprietary product, that OEM. I want to talk about like the custom manufacturer, the folks that have that proprietary process. They've been just crushing that process for years, been doing it for, second generation, whatever. And the problem with a job shop or that custom manufacturer, I call it the job shop blues. They dedicate all their time and energy to this process and nurturing a handful of clients. And the challenge is when something happens, an event, and they're at the mercy of 50, 60% of their sales or with one or two customers. Now what do you do, especially with the world that we're in right now? So I'm going to refer back to Planes, Trains, and Automobiles again. So great movie. So if you remember John Candy, what he did for a living, he was a shower curtain ring salesman. What a brilliant, that was just hysterically brilliant to come up with that, because they're a ubiquitous item, they're everywhere. And you always thought like, well, who on earth sold those things? Well, apparently John Candy did. Well, I'm going to talk to you guys about a little item, if you can see this. It is a ground strap. What on earth is a ground strap? A ground strap, or like a ground wire, goes in any electrical device, your computer, your home appliances, planes, trains, automobiles. It grounds a current. Why? Otherwise, you'd end up looking like me, and nobody wants to look like me, especially Christopher Nesbitt with that great head of hair. Look at him. So anyway, so the reason I'm talking about ground straps today is I'm working with a great, wonderful manufacturer, founded in 1985. The founder still runs it today, and it's called Faulkner Electronics. Faulkner Electronics, their legacy, little small family business, custom manufacturer. Their legacy is they sell heavy-duty metal fabricated power units to like Walmart, Lowe's. If you walk into Walmart's television department and you see their televisions are plugged into a unit that's manufactured at Faulkner Electronics, every Walmart in all of North America, South America. Well, the challenge is, as e-commerce has really been the forefront of Walmart's new strategy, that really softened the market for the brick and mortar. They're closing Sam's Club. So that hit a company like Faulkner Electronics, relying on industries just as we're seeing today. If you're in oil, auto, aero, a lot of companies, small business owners are really suffering right now. So this company, Faulkner Electronics, is trying to figure out a new strategy or a new digital footprint. And to be honest, it was a little bit of an online identity crisis. They've basically had none, which is, it's common for a lot of different companies, a lot of different industries. So one product, they make circuit boards, which is very challenging to scale, competing with China. But the great thing that they did is they manufacture ground straps, and they make thousands and thousands of ground straps. And what they do is the equipment is extremely inexpensive to make these. These are very profitable, no skill set, there's no engineering. And what they do is they have a handful of customers in the truck lighting industry that they sell this product to, okay? So we're sitting around like, hey, is there a scaling opportunity here for this little ground strap? And so what we did is their website is on a WordPress website. And we connected with our web designer and we said, hey, what if we just created like a fictitious product line of ground straps? And I think Mike O'Connor was talking about WordPress plugins last week. So the web designer used a WooCommerce plugin. It's absolutely free. And we just created a bunch of SKUs on their website. We started doing some Google ads, just go out there. And the nice thing is a custom manufacturer that gets real broad, When you get down narrow, now you can stay in your wheelhouse and you have opportunities for keyword strategies. You have opportunities to really stay in your wheelhouse and focus on what you do best. Well, sure enough, we started getting some traction and we started getting some B2B buyers, some industrial buyers, even some consumers, Fortune 500 companies, engineers. So we started to get a little bit of traction. And the great thing with e-commerce, like an e-commerce guru like Jeff Graham will tell you, e-commerce is a great inexpensive opportunity to kind of be your research and development department, if you will. So as we were playing around with this, we're getting a lot of exciting traction. And the conversations we're having, the customers saying, hey, I like the line that you have, but with that, I need a different length, or I need a different width, or I need a different configuration. So what we did is we went back to the web designer and we had a couple of options. So instead of creating dozens or hundreds of SKUs, we said, hey, could we create a little software tool that would be that would allow us to let a customer configure that ground strap? And sure enough, lo and behold, man, he just absolutely crushed it. Created this little software tool. He did it for under $2,000. It is so simple, even I can do it. It's just 5 easy steps. It takes 60 seconds or less. You click a button, put in a size. We have videos on each step to show the customer exactly how to use it. What the goal is with e-commerce, the great thing is maybe, you know, for your business, your clients, how can we help that client or customer make a buying decision at Friday night at midnight and not have to wait till Monday morning to call you? How can we prevent eliminating that cumbersome RFQ process? And that's our goal, is how can we make our customers' life as easy as possible, save them time, save them money, let them move on to the next item, the next fire that they're putting out. And that's what we discovered with this little quote builder program. The customer hits submit, it comes instantly into their email box. They have a spec drawing. They have all the information, and then we have a big green button that says place order now. The customer hits the button, it goes back into the company's e-commerce shopping cart. They place the order. The sweet thing is, for another great benefit for e-commerce, the customer is paid not only before they ship the item, before they've even made the item. And again, it's so scalable. They're agile. They can turn it around within a day or two. So it's just a great opportunity to scale your proprietary process without falling into, out of your wheelhouse. Lastly, what we did is we were struggling, as we were really going aggressively after the keyword strategy. What we discovered, when you get down and dirty, narrow in that niche, it's really a great opportunity. How can you dominate those keywords? So again, think about your business, your customers. How can you go after those keywords? So what we discovered with a pay-per-click, you know, a lot of times you'll see words that are $5, $10, $15 a click. You know, I've been doing this for so long and I'm old. I remember, Christopher, I don't know if you remember, like keywords were like a nickel back in the day. Now they're not. But when you go after that targeted long tail keywords, all of our keywords are well under $1. We're doing Google Shopping. So if you're familiar with Google Shopping, it's a little picture of the paid ad at the top. Great for conversions. And then we started creating a bunch of content around this topic, educating our customers why are ground straps important, anything that we could think of ground strap wise. And lo and behold, we started earning first page rankings on Google for all these keywords, again, because it's a nice narrow niche. So in our quest to dominate searches, we're kind of looking at the who we bidding against, who's coming up organically. We started noticing a lot of, we're competing against like AutoZone and a lot of the major car retailers, but we noticed a lot of the marketplaces. So we're going against like Amazon. We're going against like DigiKey, if you're familiar, big electronics supplier up in Minnesota. We're going against Zorro, it's a division of Grainger. Well, it hit us, we're like, hey, wait a minute. They're marketplaces, we're the manufacturer. If we can't beat them, and we were hanging with them, but let's join them. So we started putting all of our product line on these marketplaces. And the great thing, so last June, we went on Amazon. I think Kevin Williams is the Amazon guru on the call here. We went on Amazon and, got it, an order here, an order here. Next thing you know, if you do a search for ground straps on Amazon, we have the first organic position. We have multiple positions going down. We have the little coveted Amazon choice. And what's great is, prior to COVID, we were on pace, this company was on pace to do about 6 figures in this little tiny $3 item on Amazon. We probably won't hit that. It's not a PPE item or a priority, but it's been a great partnership with Amazon. And for a little manufacturer like this has been just a wonderful change and a great pivot in a new, exciting direction. Not only have they been able to scale their proprietary process, they're now scaling this process. So now what they're doing is, now they're looking at other product lines. Hey, what else can we create? And again, eliminate that cumbersome RFQ process. So they're going to do the exact same thing. They're going to create another e-commerce line. We've already talked to the web designer about creating another quote builder and start building it out. And again, just blossom the company from that aspect. So with that, if I'm gonna conclude on that, I would love any feedback, any constructive criticisms, any input on any ideas or suggestions or any questions that you have. But I just want to share, it's an opportunity. How can you or your business or your client, how can you guys work on improving that digital footprint to really stay in your wheelhouse to take advantage of the market? So thank you guys
Wow,
for your time.
that's cool as heck, Curt. I mean, because you touched so many different topics here that I see that there's I see some people moving into the camera. That's what I like, because I know 3 of you on the call for sure, that 4 or 5, hell, there's a bunch of them. But got some things to say about it. It's really cool because you transcended it from a custom manufacturer into e-commerce, into Google pay-per-click, into blogs and SEO, and all the way down. So, and multiple marketplaces. So yeah, who's got something to say about this? This is a good one.
I do. This is Kevin
Hey,
Williams.
Kevin.
Yeah, I manage Amazon brands and run a number of my own direct-to-consumer brands. I think in the industrial space, there is still a large opportunity for the systematizing of large catalogs and transferring them to Amazon. I ran into a fellow recently who he does $7 or $8 million a year on Amazon on, I think it's an 8 million ASIN catalog. It's completely nuts. But he has every bit and piece of all of these industrial catalogs. The one that comes to mind is like forklift parts. And, you're an ops guy, your forklift's broken, you're looking for some spring for a Toyota X, whatever it is. And lo and behold, there it is. The trick there is it's really a data exercise as opposed to being an SEO exercise or any sort of a content exercise. And acknowledging that there are tools in place that allow you to systematize that now, I think really creates a lot of opportunity for people who are willing to dive in. That guy has himself and 2 basically assistants to run that entire business. And in his case, he's connected via a drop ship to the suppliers. So he's just the conduit to come through. But the logical progression of that is cutting out that guy and being the industrial supplier yourself. Are you going to sell a ton of Hitachi, Springs, whatever? No, but as long as you have the inventory anyway, and you've created the inventory connection that you can sell it FBM, fulfilled by merchant from your warehouse, it's really virtually frictionless.
Yeah, that is a good point. It is a good point because there are the resellers, the manufacturers are going to wise up to this over time. And if you are a manufacturer, it is an opportunity for you to move direct. That's for sure, or at least with a portion of your business. So anyone else? Jeff, you got some thoughts around this? This is a pretty, you're deep in this area.
Yeah, I guess some of my thoughts around it is it really depends on the business and it depends on the stage of the company. The issue with these companies pivoting online is they just don't have the wherewithal or knowledge. So they're going to have to employ or empower somebody to help them. They don't know how to run PPC. Even if they did, it's probably run poorly. When you look at transitioning a company in digital, Walmart did a good job, and Walmart started their digital transition 4 years ago. So it's been a long process for folks like that. So I think it just depends on the business segment, and then, really how you're messaging right now, I think is important. But some businesses just can't move, and won't survive. It's just going to be fallout for sure. Yeah. But if someone is going to make a pivot or a move online, Walmart's really, lessen their restrictions on account building, so you can open stores on eBay, you can open Amazon stores, you can open Walmart stores, virtual stores on marketplaces. They've all softened their, quintessential requirements due to this situation. So it's easier to start a store than it was before. They're accepting, there's no checks and balances. They're just pretty much, you can go and start stores. I mean, I built 4 stores in the last 2 days for different folks. So it's quick. The other thing about the internet game is it's going to be real busy because everyone's going to be going that direction. So now you have you know, a crowded space, even more crowded, and you only have so many Google pages and searches, and you're going to have to pay to play. So if you're not spending money on ad spend, if you're not, you know, you're not going to be seen. Or getting organics can take you months.
And I think what Curt was saying there too is real relevant, and you have to get really niche down into the real specific to be successful. What do you think, like Chris or Craig or anyone else in the marketing too? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, you know, when you look at a program like that and think about it from a path to purchase, we've done configurators like that for clients before, with the concept that we're leading someone towards taking action in their purchase process. So configurators can be used to determine what the product is. It also can educate the consumer on, as they're going through the benefits of each of the components that they're adding to a custom item. It also is getting them to take action and move closer to that buying process. An example, years ago, completely off the digital space, we were coaching a mattress chain on how to grow their business. And one of the things that we did was we said, when people would call, don't just set an appointment, tell them to bring their pillow. And all the salespeople said, what are you talking about? No, bring your pillow to the store. Well, why did we do that? Because if the person took the time to grab the pillow and get to the store, they're ready to buy something. They've taken action, they've moved forward. And even if they didn't buy a mattress, you could certainly tell them their pillow's disgusting and sell them a pillow. So you know, when you've got a custom product or something that has multiple parameters, and a person is on a configurator doing it, what are they actually doing? They're shopping. They're moving towards that product that they want to buy, designing it themselves, and getting closer to that path to purchase. And if you have lots of competitors that do similar things, then that configurator should have cues within it that show your benefit. So when they see the competitor doesn't have it, they're in your camp. So there's a whole path to purchase argument about these configurators and things that are similar to help educate that really matter. So what you did is really cool.
Yeah, that's a good point, Andrew, is educating as they go through this process. Chris or Craig or anyone else got any on the other end of this?
You know, one of the things I look at is, you know, we all come from different angles on how to market. And there's no one wrong way, one right way, but there's better ways of doing it along the way. And I remember the post that you did, Damon, where we talked about when you do a search on Google. Yeah, you're going to run into 18.1% of all the searches if you type in your name. And I challenge everyone here to type in your name, type in your company name, and see what comes up in the SEO search on Google. And within the top 5 searches or results that come up on it, 90% of the time you're going to see LinkedIn in there. And then I go look at the LinkedIn profiles and I see there's a lot more work that people need to put into creating, basically it's like if we go fishing, we got to put the right bait on the hook to be able to catch the right fish. So if we're putting worms on, but we're trying to catch bass and we want to use more of a worm, right, with a Carolina rig, that's going to pull in the bass, not the worm. That's going to pull in the perch. So we want to make sure we put the right things in our profile so that we can get the right clients to come to us and go from there. And then you intermix it. I'm not saying that it's the only way out there. I'm saying it's all intermixed with these great ideas that everyone is coming up with here on the Zoom meeting here.
Yeah. Okay. Christopher, what do you have going on this?
Well, just so you know, I mean, I'm hearing a lot of like omni-channel strategies, but it's also worthwhile considering putting multiple strategies together in conjunction with each other to capture different sections of the discovery journey for that customer. So, you know, in the case of something like an e-commerce, you know, you've got your pay-per-click, but you've also got your SEO and you've got your social presence. You know, these are very broad topics, but if you align all 3 of them together, you've got more of an opportunity to make sure that if you miss them on the PPC, then you might catch them somewhere else. So
that's a great point.
Damon, if
Yeah,
I may, and I know I'm new to this and interesting stuff today, guys. Joe Stepke, but going back on what Ben and Curt said earlier about pivoting, and I had to pivot my own business. and I act like it is my business. I'm basically an entrepreneur. I work for SEMA Credit. I'm known and I branded myself as Joe the finance guy. And I had to pivot because my merchants over 5 years, they've all asked me, I was getting calls right when COVID-19 hit and people are shutting down their stores. What do I do? What would we do at the time? And I started talking to them about e-commerce, really going the digital marketing platform and talking it up to them. This is the way to go. Because a lot of people are going to be home, but guess what? Just like we're all on here right now doing a Zoom call or whatever platform we're on, excuse me, but we're all on here. That's the way it's going to go. You're going to have to start selling online. And that's how I started getting them to pivot a little bit. And even for myself to change up how I talk to customers. I've had no problem getting retailers on board because I'm not the typical finance person, but I also had to pivot a little bit on even talking to them. I do something now with Loom that, when I connect with somebody, I'm talking to them. I instantly give them value by, liking or they're endorsing them, excuse me, and talking to them a little bit. I mean, I don't have a nice background or whatever. You're going to actually see me for what I am. I'm a comic book guy, and that's all comic book stuff behind me. However, nobody's ever complained about it. So I wanted to say it was interesting, Craig, to your point, the fish attracting device, what I got from Scotty Schindler at time. I think that's what you're saying. If you want to go a fish analogy, I'm not a fisherman, so I'm just going to go that route for a minute. But I think that Loom was helping me change the direction of how I bring customers in. And it has given me, I've already had 5 signups for it this week, just from using that little tool.
Okay.
So,
sorry, Joseph, it's great because we each need to look and sit there and say, we need to market and communicate in the way that's, first of all, authentic to us and resonates with our clients. I think it's phenomenal that as everything was hitting the fan, your clients are coming to you and say, okay, not how do I get more credit, but what do I do? Correct. And that really speaks to the fact that you've positioned yourself as a trusted source, not just somebody that provides them with a commodity.
Right.
Or somebody that they're going to come to as for information, somebody that they can trust, somebody that they can rely upon, and that's brand building.
Yeah.
And I think that the companies over the next 6 months that can position themselves as being that brand of trust, somebody that's out there to help their customers go that extra mile and be able to put themselves in a position where they may not be making the money today, but they're helping people. Those are the ones that are going to make the money long term.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that we need to all be thinking about that as well. We need to be communicating in the language of our clients, in the tone that they need at the moment. Because right now, just going out there and sell is going to go people are going to go tone deaf to it.
Correct.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I had a client this week that I mentioned before that's in oil field services, and they're just hammered. I mean, they're hammered. They're going to be down by probably 60% this year. But the one thing, and I was talking to their salespeople, was go talk to your customers. Now we're talking about they're selling to high-level engineers in oil field companies or oil production companies. They're worried about their jobs, their pressure to cut cost, and so those are the 2 things they're worried about right now. Everything they're worried about. I said, go talk to them. Ask them, first of all, what are you worrying about today? But then second of all, say, how can I help you? How can we help to reduce your costs? And forget about us doing any of this work, because we're not here to sell work. We're here to make you successful in your job, in your position, and your company more successful, and really build the long-term relationships by doing that with an outreach of help. And they've had very good success with it. And they've already, I got a couple calls this week already from them saying that, we're generating meetings and talking to customers this way. So
they're starting to pivot from that too, right, Damon?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Where are they going?
Into different industries. I mean, they're going, they're going back into legacy work in large grain handling facilities, ethanol, and working in refineries and other stuff that they did. But one of the key things with their existing clients is to, you know, go back, as you said, and help them and figure out if you can make them more successful when it's, you know, when it comes out and things turn around, they're going to be the first ones they think of as they help them do that. So
Damon, you just talked about what we talked about on our call last week.
Yeah.
Is the relationships, how important they are right now. And
Right.
and what you just said, kindness equals prosperity.
Yeah.
You're taking the time to think about, they know you're thinking about them.
Yeah.
And you go out and you're asking them, you're saying, hey, what are your concerns? How can I help you? How can I, you know, what can we do for you right now? You know, they may not think of the word kindness, because we all know it's a little nebulous and fluffy, but when it comes to the economics that it produces, it becomes solid. Your kindness equals prosperity. Build those relationships of trust, show that understanding and kindness right now. They're going to come out, people who do that, who are doing that, are going to come out of the other side of this in a much, much better position.
Yeah, that's a great point, Randy.
And leave them, when you leave them, and after talking, leave them with some toilet paper and write your phone number on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the underpinnings of what you just said is people don't feel safe and there's a lot of fear. And kindness is a way to overcome the fear and the lack of safety, the deep feeling that I'm not safe and my business isn't safe. And kindness is just a little bit of warmth to kind of move people forward. Plus it's engagement. I want to kind of pivot back to what, Ben was talking about. And the engagement is all the processes that these gentlemen have talked about, even the diagram process on the website, that process is engagement, even if it's not person to person. And engagement sells, builds trust.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Brad, I just introduced myself.
Sorry, thank you. Just make sure that's engagement both with your customers and your employees.
Amen.
Yeah, it's got to go both ways, because if your employees feel engaged, they're going to become advocates for your brand with your customers, provide better customer experience, and that's what's going to provide better loyal customers.
Yeah.
And it all unleashes that economics. Because when you take care of your customers, your opportunities go up. And what happens when your opportunities go up? Your prosperity goes up.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to introduce myself. Amelia Gorgoras and Randy was kind enough to invite me to your meeting today. Very informative and eye-opening. I just want to share a couple of things with you. I just finished writing a book this week, actually, 7 Keys to Navigating a Crisis, a practical guide to emotionally preparing for pandemics and other disasters. And in my research, what I found is that there's a difference between danger and fear. Danger is real. If somebody coughs in your face right now, that's dangerous. Fear, on the other hand, is paralyzing. So we just keep that in mind when we make decisions. If the danger comes, we need to be prepared, but let us not allow fear to take over in our businesses or in our personal lives, because that's paralyzing, and then we're not moving forward. The other thing is that there are different groups. This is what my research showed of how people handle crisis. There are 4 different groups, and I'll be very quick about it. The first one is the victim. Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to my business? This always happens to me. The second one is the critic, who basically criticizes anything that comes up. The government, any initiative, anything, they criticize it to death. The third one is the bystander, who basically is frozen by fear and does nothing. And what all 3 of these groups have in common is that they lack initiative, they lack taking action. And then there's the 4th group, which we call the navigator, who basically analyzes the situation and then moves into action and allows flexibility and adaptability to go from just surviving to thriving. So just some thoughts for you guys. Book will be out May 1st, and we're trying to get out as quickly as we can because the time is now.
something to go right along with that. Everything we've talked about today, everything Curt talked about, it's all talking about being navigators. It's all talking about being navigators when you're pivoting your business, when you're doing the stuff, you know, that the organization Curt talked about, making the ground straps, or this company, Damon, what you just talked about, these guys going out and building relationships and stuff, they're all in navigation mode. We've got to navigate this, and we've got to minimize the effects, the impacts of what is happening right now, so that when we do come through this, we're in a good position.
Yeah.
And it's really not the strong that will survive. It's the ones that are flexible. Flexibility is the key to this, because we're starting over, like you said. This is a whole new world.
100%. 100%.
Moving forward, I think there will be, you know, the virus will most likely come back in the fall. So my background in psychology anyway, but it will be targeted. In other words, we're not going to have a statewide shutdown, but there will be hot zones. So let's say I live in Colorado. So let's say, you know, Boulder, Colorado is a hot zone. They will shut Boulder down, but that's not going to impact Denver or Colorado Springs, for example, for a couple of weeks to make sure that this doesn't expand. So businesses that have already prepared, and we have the summer months to prepare for that, will seamlessly go from the office to work from home for those 2 weeks that, let's say, Boulder is shut down, and their businesses are not going to suffer if they are prepared. And that's going to happen throughout the country, and I think throughout the world too. There'll be hot zones. We'll shut them down for a couple of weeks to make sure it doesn't expand and doesn't grow to other cities and so on. And that's going to happen. So we have to be very flexible in how we go forward, and expect that this is going to last for a while. It's not going to be over in the next couple of months.
That's for sure. That's for sure. And I think that the flexibility of businesses in this time is really key. And you know, that's the biggest thing is, you know, it's not like it was yesterday. I don't give a rip if it doesn't matter what you're doing, you know, because you're not in the office anymore. You don't have that, and you may not be in the office ever again, just because the way things are changing, you know, from restaurants to, you know, construction companies to whatever. You know, we got people on here that are recruiting that are used to doing a lot of remote work. We've got people in here like Joseph who talked, or Brad, or, you know, look at anyone on this call. It's not going to be the same after this. It's not, you know, as I was talking with Jeff this week already, and he's talking about the PPC landscape right now. There's some opportunities to do this, and, you know, those may continue. It just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. It's all going to be changing. And I'm just so thankful for you guys and your input today. We've got, I was really happy about the topic, and Curt, you did a wonderful job, and everyone else that your input in this. And I just, again, I'm so thankful to be able to listen to you people that are so knowledgeable in your subjects. Explain some things to us that we can really chew on a while. So I'm going to in the next couple of days, we're going to talk next week. What we're going to talk about, I want to kind of sprint forward to that for a second. We're going to have Craig Wasilchak going to talk about social media marketing and how this has been changing, because I think as video calls, social media is making a quantum shift here overnight. And then you know, we got some interesting topics coming up. You know, a couple of them we're thinking about is one that Ben touched on today, is emerging from the quarantine. You know, just if you think about this, just how are we going to bring, you know, our workers back, and what's the process going to look like when we're doing that is another big thing. I think we can have some really relevant discussions, so that as we're talking to people or in our own businesses, it can be relevant. And then one of them that I think that we'll probably include in one, or maybe even have a separate one, is something that Marty has brought up a couple times that we've been talking, and maybe not in here, is strategic turnover. This is a time when there are thousands and millions of workers that are unemployed, and you know, I don't want to sound cold-hearted, but I will. If you need the best people on your team, you got to realistically look at this as an opportunity to upgrade that as well.
Yep.
And it's one of the things that I think if we can talk about, we can understand some good ways to do it, it'll help us.
Uh-oh.
And when we talk about this is when I talked about the client I'm doing, they're doing it like crazy. They're you know, they've got people that are rolling off projects, but they're hiring local people right now because they don't have to pay travel people anymore. They can hire skilled local people. That's an easy example. Saves them $100 or $150 a day in per diem they're paying. You know, so these are the kind of things that we're going to talk about. But as we roll into the last few minutes here, what we'd like you to do is, hey, rate this call. Tell us if it's a 5 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10 or 2 out of 10. We want to know how much you enjoyed it. We want your ideas for future topics. You can message me on LinkedIn. You can email me, however you want to do it. But let's get some good topics. And if there are speakers that you would like to hear, I will approach them. I don't care. I don't care who it is. You tell me I need to go to the president of whatever company. I'll go contact them. We'll have them see if they'll come on and talk. So we want to do this to provide us the best and the most relevant information we can. And with that, I just want to thank you again for stopping by. And I'm going to turn it over to Andrew Cross and let him roll us into the end here. And I just so thankful to see you all.
Great. Hey, thanks, Damon. Yeah, just, well, we're trying to get some format to this. It started out, we were just kind of winging it and had a kind of a group conversation, and more and more people are coming on, and it's been great. Ben, thank you for leading us off. Great segue, kind of warms us up. Again, we're putting this structure together. If we like it, we'd love to hear from you guys back on if that works for you or not. But we don't want to just talk at people. We want to have a conversation here, and that's our objective. Curt Anderson, thank you very much. Ilya, welcome, and thanks for coming. I think that was some great comments there, and we're and it really floated in with, we've only been, I think, now on our 4th meeting here. Your comments too are picking up from where we started, which was, we're talking to our customers. I think that was a theme today. What are they saying, as we go forward, and we're getting back to fundamentals and listening to them, and the pivoting as a result of that, because you want to go help them, and that's best for everybody. There's big question marks, but we do know we're going to come out of this, and then there's for that too, Ilya, what you were saying is there's that optimism, or that not just cutting everything like the big companies do and firing everybody and laying everybody off. People here are doubling down, and our clients on Main Street are doubling down on sales, on marketing, on new opportunities, because that's what we do. So that's kind of cool, and we like to pull people in here and do that, and hear their stories about how that's happening in their world. So it's fascinating to me. Thanks, guys. This has been great. Thank you, Damon. We did have the chat session on the side, which is, there's always some interesting conversations, information going there, and people are starting to connect with each other as well. And we encourage you to do that. And we'll also download that and share it with folks. And we're going to keep going for next week. I think Craig's coming on to discuss. He's on deck, and we're going to line up some more discussion points and topics that we're going to roll around on in the future weeks. And as long as everybody wants to keep doing that. And again, if you can let us know, it's just kind of, we're going back to our EOS, topics. We rate this meeting, let us know how we scored, and give us feedback, and we'll come back around and do some, we'd like to do some new things. So, and I think that's about it.
Thank you, Andrew, for your kind words. I appreciate it. I feel very welcome. You guys are doing great. And my expertise is happiness. Actually, it's not even disaster relief, but that's what I teach. I lecture around the world on happiness and wellness and corporate wellness. But I felt like the time is now to get a book out specifically about this, because there's so much fear out there. And I'm an optimist. Humanity will survive this, and we'll be better off for it. There'll be some portions of industries that are going to suffer. I think people that own office buildings are going to suffer big time, and they're going to have to repurpose those.
Yeah.
Because as we go working from home, if you had a 5,000 square foot, office, you don't need that anymore as your company. You drop down to 2,500, or maybe not at all even. And you're more of the experts, I think, the work from home. But things are going to change drastically. And I think that part of the sector of the construction is going to suffer. That's my take.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, when people do these things, they change the way they do business. They change the way they live and do things. And there's some discovery here. We're finding out maybe this is a better way. Things are gonna, things you pick up here in wartime, that's where the innovation comes from for the future. So, and here we are. So very good.
So I have a question. Has anybody got any research on the effectiveness of wearing a mask and stopping the disease spread? Any research at all?
It's inconclusive right now. I mean, there's inconclusive, to be honest with you.
Right, the research I've done. My thought was, had they known and had data ahead of time, we would not have shut down, wouldn't have spent $6 trillion on this shutdown, right? And we could have all just been forced to wear masks. That's my thinking at the moment.
So I have 2 kids in the medical profession, and the studies that all of them have had is the people who are sick, if they wear a mask, it's very effective. If you are not sick and you wear a mask, it basically, unless you have a really fine, even the N95 masks are not all that 100% effective. It's a protective measure, but it's not 100% effective. So what both of my children do for everybody that comes into their hospital or clinic is they take their temperature and they put masks on anyone that comes in. It's preventing the coughers, the sneezers. And so if you have symptoms, yes. If you don't, it doesn't necessarily prevent you from getting it. That's what they do in their clinics and hospitals here.
And there's a lot of user error on the mask because people that haven't been trained in medical fields don't understand the cross-contamination, and they're not wearing their mask right, or they're moving their mask down to their neck and you're putting it back up. It's just a mess. So that's something that we've got to be teaching here in our country.
Yeah.
So I'm certified in mold remediation. I don't know if you guys know that, but I've done a lot of work with infectious disease, cross-contamination, mold, stuff like that. I spent 20 years in the industry. Let me tell you, most of those masks, whether you're a doctor or not, they're not really telling the truth because a lot of it's really worthless. It really just is. If somebody's sick, the best thing to do is stay home. The size of these masks, right? They don't go down to the 0.01 microns that you need them to go down to. Unfortunately, 99.9% of the masks that I see out in the market or see people wearing in the streets, the ones I wear to the store, they're really not effective, man. If you come across somebody that's sick and you're gonna get it, one way or the other. Like Catherine, who's my sister, said, most people aren't using the stuff correctly. If you guys actually went through some of the training I went to, you'd understand how hard it really is, to do any of that stuff correctly. And if you see the doctors and the people that are working with these patients, right, they're covered from head to toe, okay? I mean, they have the mask, they have the goggles, they have tape between everything, and then they go and spray themselves down before they take any of that shit off, right?
Yeah.
And the way you don your equipment, take it on and off, right, is going to make all the difference in the world. And unless you're like one of those guys that has the little booties and the pants and the raincoat, right? I mean, you're pretty much screwed, pardon my language.
Listen, don't judge me, Mike. Don't judge me.
Hey,
so I see a lot of information, and as a guy that knows better, it sucks. You know what I mean? Because
I'm gonna jump in.
You're screwed.
I'm gonna jump in as the closer since we're getting down to our time here. But great stuff. Thank you, Mike. And masks aren't required for this meeting yet, so that's okay. Whether they work or not, I'd like to see people's faces, which is always good. So I think we're at the top of the hour, and we are gonna do our best to stick to the schedule for everybody. So we got to go back out there and conquer the world.
Awesome, everyone. We'll see you next week.
One thing I want to add, guys.
Yeah.
If I'm not connected to you guys, I'm just around 30,000 all the time. If you send me a personal note, or if you connect with me through Twitter, right? Or if you let me know you're on this call, I will make room for you. You know, these are the type of people I want to connect with. I got a lot of people at 30,000 that don't do anything for me. I don't do anything for them. Really appreciate everybody's time, and I really appreciate everybody that shared tools in the chat box and took advantage of the chat box to share information along the way. So I really appreciate that. I probably got about 8 to 9 different notes from the chat box alone. So I appreciate you guys. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, have a great day, everyone. We'll be back here next week. We'll be talking to Craig.
Bye. Look forward to it, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.